Drugémon, The Long Road to Recovery Chapter 2. The Snorlax blockade. The sun beat down on the cracked and barren asphalt of Route 1, a relentless hammer in the grey sky. Ash, looking even more haggard than when he'd left the ruins of his home, trudged onward with a grim determination. Pikachu was nestled in a makeshift sling against his chest, a fragile weight. The small Pokémon was still weak, drifting in and out of a fitful sleep, but every so often his small body would stir with a painful-looking twitch that sent a fresh pang of guilt through Ash. He paused, the silence of the road broken only by his own ragged breathing. Unscrewing the cap from a dented canteen, he took a swig of precious water before pouring a little onto his fingers. He gently dabbed the cool liquid onto Pikachu's lips. Pikachu stirred at the touch, letting out a soft, pained sound that was barely a whisper on the wind. Just a little further, Ash muttered to himself, his voice a low rasp. "We need to get to Viridian before dark." Adjusting the sling, he continued his trek. The landscape around him was a portrait of desolation. The vibrant forests that had once lined this familiar route, teeming with life, were now just skeletal collections of dead, grey trees, their bare branches reaching for the sky like desperate, grasping fingers. He came to a small bridge that crossed a riverbed, but the water that had once flowed there was long gone, leaving behind a dusty, rock-strewn scar in the earth. His path was completely blocked by a Snorlax of immense size, a mountain of flesh and fur that spanned the entire width of the bridge. It wasn't just sleeping, it was comatose. Its breathing was shallow, barely stirring its massive chest, and its skin had a sickly pallor. The ground around it was littered with empty, syringe-like vials that glinted ominously in the harsh light. Ash stopped dead in his tracks, a groan of pure frustration escaping his lips. "You have got to be kidding me." He tried to squeeze past, to find some gap between the Snorlax and the bridge's railing, but there was no room. With a grunt of effort, he pushed against the Snorlax's massive side. It was like pushing against a mountain. The creature didn't budge, its sheer mass an immovable object. As he stepped back, a figure emerged from the sliver of shade under the bridge. It was an old man, thin and wiry, with a desperate, haunted look in his eyes. He was clearly the Snorlax's trainer. "No use," the old man said, his voice as dry and cracked as the riverbed. "He hasn't moved in 3 days." Ash turned, his annoyance flaring. "Is this your Snorlax? Can't you wake it up?" The old man didn't answer directly. Instead, he gestured with a trembling hand to the empty vials scattered on the ground. His expression was one of pure, undiluted despair. "It's the new stuff. Dream Eater, they call it. They sell it as a powerful sedative. Said it would help him rest. Now he just doesn't wake up." Ash's gaze shifted from the comatose Snorlax to the frail, twitching form of Pikachu in his sling. In the massive, unmoving Pokémon, he saw a horrifying reflection of his own situation, a potential future that turned his blood to ice. As late afternoon bled into evening, Ash and the old man sat together in defeated silence, staring at the impassable Pokémon. The sun began its slow descent, casting long, ominous shadows that stretched like grasping claws across the barren landscape. "There has to be another way around," Ash finally said, breaking the silence. "The Viridian Maze," the old man replied, his voice low. But you don't want to go in there, not anymore. It's not just trainers looking for a shortcut these days, it's scavengers, desperate people." As if on cue, Pikachu began to shiver violently in the sling, a low moan escaping its lips. The withdrawal was setting in again, its cruel grip tightening. Ash instinctively pulled his jacket tighter around the small body, a wave of familiar panic. Washing over him, "I don't have a choice," Ash said, his voice tight with urgency as he looked at the old man. "He needs help, real help. I have to get to Cinnabar Island." The old man's gaze softened with a sad, knowing expression as he looked at Pikachu. He nodded slowly. "I heard they had something. A counter-agent for the Dream Eater. They keep it at the old Pokémon Center in Viridian. For emergencies." A spark of an idea ignited in Ash's mind. It was reckless, dangerous, and born of desperation. If we could wake him up, just for a minute. Maybe we could get him to move. The old man shook his head, his hope already extinguished. It would take a massive jolt, something to shock his system out of this state. I have nothing that powerful. Ash looked down at the shivering Pikachu in his arms, at the partner he had sworn to protect. He knew what he had to do, and he hated himself for it. Night fell completely, blanketing the world in darkness. A single lantern cast a flickering, uncertain glow over the scene. With hands that shook, Ash gently laid Pikachu down on the cold ground. He opened his worn backpack and pulled out the locked metal box, the source of all their misery. He unlocked it. Inside, resting on a small square of velvet cloth, was a single jagged crystalline shard. It pulsed with a faint, sickly internal light, the last of Pikachu's stash. The old man watched, his eyes wide with alarm. "Son, what is that?" "What are you doing?" "What I have to," Ash replied, his voice flat, his gaze fixed on the crystal. "It supercharges his electricity. It's the only way." Pikachu, even in its weakened state, could sense the drug's proximity. Its eyes fluttered open, immediately locking onto the shard with a desperate, all-consuming hunger. "Pika, Pika," it whispered, the sound a dry rustle. Ash's face was a mask of self-loathing. He felt like a monster, a betrayer. "Just this once, buddy," he said, his voice breaking. "Just to get us through. Then we're done. I promise." He touched the crystal to Pikachu's cheek. The Pokémon convulsed as the poison entered its system, an unnatural energy surging through it like a lightning strike. Its eyes snapped wide open, glowing with an intense, manic light. The frail, sick Pokémon was gone, replaced by a being of pure, volatile power. Pikachu stood, its small body crackling with arcs of raw electricity. It was a terrifying, beautiful sight. It looked at Ash, but there was no recognition in its wild eyes, only the unpredictable energy of the drug. "Okay, Pikachu," Ash said, his voice steady despite his clenched fists. "The Snorlax, we need to wake it up. Aim for its stomach, full power." With a high-pitched, frenzied cry, Pikachu leaped onto a nearby rock, its body gathering a massive electrical charge that lit up the night. Pikachu, a colossal thunderbolt, far more powerful than anything natural, slammed into the Snorlax's belly. The giant Pokémon convulsed violently, its eyes snapping open in a panic. A deafening roar of confusion and pain ripped through the air as it struggled to its feet, stumbling off the bridge and collapsing in a heap on the far side of the riverbed. The path was clear. The artificial high vanished as quickly as it had come. The energy drained from Pikachu in an instant, and it collapsed, smoke wafting from its tiny body. The crash was always worse than the withdrawal. Ash rushed forward, scooping up his unconscious partner, his heart a leaden weight in his chest. "By the gods," the old man whispered, staring at the scene, horrified and awestruck. Ash didn't look back. Clutching Pikachu tightly, he hurried across the now clear bridge, disappearing into the oppressive darkness, the weight of his promise heavy on his shoulders.